Hello and welcome to my Guild Wars 1 Water Magic skill tier list. So, first of all, let's go into Water Magic. How good is it in PvE? So this is for hard mode PvE content. This tier list. This is assuming you're not doing elite missions or especially hard mode elite missions. So vanquishing uh, Guild Wars Beyond and Beyond hard mode, stuff like that. So let's start with the, overview of Water Magic. It has a lot of control effects. It can cause foes to miss, with blurred vision. You can snare foes. It has AOE snares. It has things like Maelstrom, which is pretty strong, hard anti-magic hatred. So it interrupts spells and it hits 10 times. So that's quite good. It has weird skills like Rust, which just interrupt and disable signets. So it has some stranger skills as well. It has some utility swirling aura. But it basically has, it's like a utility toolbox with that has miscellaneous effects. Then most of them are snares, some damage mitigation, and some healing. So I'm gonna go over the elite skills first and where they rate in the metagame. So first we'll start off with Icy Shackles. This is probably D tier. You just wouldn't run this in PvE. It just hits a single target. It's just not good. So the reason for that is it just snares one guy and it might get removed anyway. So not good. Mind Freeze does 120 damage. Snares a dude if you have higher energy than them. It doesn't hit AOE. So once again, I would say this is D tier. Mirror of Ice. So if you cast this on yourself, it actually triggers twice. So it does roughly 140-ish damage, more closer to 130. It slows foes down, hits near, recharge faster if they're hexed with water magic. Now this is weird because it itself is a hex, so if they're hexed with something else, it can recharge faster. This is possibly, you could possibly build something around this. Let me see really quick. If you hit them with some kind of quick hex, so this hits near, maybe deep freeze, teleport into them, mirror of ice yourself. That'd be kind of a weird burst build, but it wouldn't really do that much damage, and it'd require a lot of energy maintenance. But I would say this is B tier. This could be useful. As far as elite skills are concerned, it's not the best, but it's definitely decent. So it's B tier. It has some uses. The fact that it can recharge faster is good. So 15 seconds isn't bad. 50% off of that. That's 7.5 seconds. That's not bad. It can freeze multiple things. So it can CC a lot of things. So if an AI uses this on you or another ally and CCs a lot of melee, that could be mitigation. So that's okay. Mist Form. This is an interesting one. Taking less damage from foes that are hexed, and then you heal allies in earshot, non-spirit allies. So this is actually a decent skill. It requires some theory crafting and making a team comp around this, or at least this is great with minions because it's constantly healing minions. It also will heal pets. So this is just constantly spitting out healing, and you becoming tankier versus dudes hexed with water magic isn't bad. I would say this is B tier. It has some uses. It's not the best skill, but it's not bad. Next we have Shatterstone. Once again, not, but I'd say B tier. It's in and of itself is a spike, 95 cold damage up front, hex spell, end effect, 95 cold damage to nearby. That's not bad. 95 damage on nearby for 10 energy isn't bad. The cooldown's not so bad. I'd say this is B tier as well. Ward Against Harm. So this one is actually quite good. I would say in the right use case, this could be A tier. You would use this for damage mitigation. It gives you some healing. This could be run if you're doing a prophecies only playthrough or something. This would be quite strong because this is a prophecy skill. But even without that, if you get your water magic up high enough, you can give your party in this ward quite a significant damage reduction against elemental, which is good. So this is definitely an A tier utility skill. Obviously, when you're running water magic, you'd have to run some different things with it. So you'd probably run this, maybe Maelstrom, Deep Freeze. Now obviously there's 25 energy, so maybe Mesmer, bring this down a little bit, get some inspiration going on, get some auspicious incantation with your deep freeze to get an insane amount of energy back. So it's like things like that, and then you could run some other stuff, but like this would be a utility bar. You'd run like blurred vision with this, like blurred vision. You'd want overcast for like this swirling aura. So you could run like a support over or utility bar, but this is like A tier. This is really good actually. Water Trident, I would say, is B tier. 85 damage to 3 foes isn't bad. Hits adjacent foes. If it hit nearby, that'd be better. It's kind of like lava arrows, but it hits fewer things because it doesn't hit nearby. It still hits 3 targets, but doesn't have as much range. It knocks down moving foes. So it is a fast projectile, so unlike lava arrows, which is a slow projectile, this is quite fast. So this, I would say, in the right use case, could be A tier, but otherwise it's B tier. Like if you're just constantly knocking things down, you have like Earthbind, this could be pretty good. It definitely mitigates damage against your backline because it's just constantly knocking down things that are moving. This could also hold foes in AoE, so this actually might be A tier. Because, for example, if I throw down like Firestorm, or like maybe Savannah Heat, like someone has like I have like 2 or 3 LAs with Savannah Heat, and I'm spamming like Meteors and like Water Trident as part of the knockdown spam, this actually could be okay. But like A to B tier. As far as like I said, this isn't for endgame. Like that has its own meta, so that's like just a bunch of mesmers and assassins and dervishes and shit. So, so this is like for like general hard mode, but this is like an A tier skill. It's on a low cooldown because it does good damage. Water magic has a hard time dealing damage, so this gives it some damage, so it's not bad. All right, so now let's go into the actual skills themselves. Just gonna drag them on like I did with the other video. Alright, so first we have Armor of Frost, plus 40 damage against physical, plus 1 water magic. I would say this is like D tier. Maybe for like some specific farming build, if even, I don't know, I doubt it. This is like D tier. The plus 1 water magic is the big upside here. Like the 40 armor versus physical is good, but you really want, in hard mode, you want armor against elemental and physical. So I just don't think it's very good. I'd say it's like D tier. Armor of Mist. This actually is good. Plus 38 armor. Great. Move 33% faster. Great. So this is like B tier. Like possibly even A. Definite B because it gives you good armor. The problem, like the reason I don't want to just throw it into A tier is because it's like you have to invest in water magic. So like let's say I invest like a little bit into water magic. It's plus 22 armor. That's not bad. But you have to consider that if you have something else giving you armor, like for example, stand your ground, this does not stack. There's a cap, so whichever is the highest will be what you get. So if you have plus 22 armor from this and then plus 24 from stand your ground, you're just not going to get any extra armor. So circumstantially, like in of itself, it's just like B tier. So that's decent. Blurred vision, I would say is... I would say this is A tier. I almost wanted to put it into S, but it can be removed. But it hexes. It's a spammable. Like you could hex multiple things with this. It hexes all adjacent, and they just have a 50% chance to miss. This is a really good ability. In general, it's hard for enemies and even the player to remove hexes. So when you constantly hit things with multiple hexes, the enemy AI, there's just not that many skills that remove a lot of hexes. So when you just start hitting things with like blurred vision and deep freeze, for example, enemies have a hard time removing them. So like deep freeze is actually quite good. I'm gonna get to that in a second, but this is definitely A tier. It's really strong. 50% chance to miss, that like halves their damage. So definitely really strong. Conjure Frost, I would say this is like C tier. The other conjures are better because they give you access to other things. Conjure Frost isn't the best. It's just like, you know, boosts your damage, but Conjure Flame is better because it has some good fire. There's good fire magic skills, and Conjure Lightning, same thing. Both have like skills other professions can run. That's where you're going to be running this, so C tier. Deep Freeze, I would say this is S tier. When you run it on like a Mesmer with Auspicious Incantation, or even just like in general, if you just like splash this and you have like some way of dealing with its energy cost, hitting area and hexing foes for 10 seconds and having them all move 66% slower is very, very strong. On a 15-second cooldown, you can practically maintain it. This is definitely S tier. You can run Auspicious Incantation. You can throw this on a Mesmer. Like I've seen people ping like Mesmer builds for their like heroes where they have like Deep Freeze on their bar and like Auspicious Incantation, and like they spike their own energy back up and they freeze the entire enemy team. It's like really good. So what it does is it, 1, mitigates damage, 2, prevents enemies from fleeing AoE. It does both of those things. And it's a 10-second hex that hits pretty much the entire enemy party. They're not going to be able to remove this from everything, so everything's just going to be really slow. So definitely really good. Freezing Gust, D tier, nothing to see here. Does low damage, like 76 cold damage to a single target if they're hexed with water magic. If not, hex them. It's just not very good. It's okay. You're better off using Ice Spikes, which I'll get into in a second. Frigid Armor, plus 38 armor versus physical immunity to burning. I would say this is like C tier, circumstantially B tier. There might be a situation where immunity to burning is very useful, like maybe against like certain types of enemies that inflict a lot of burn or combo off of their burn within their team comp. But definitely C tier. Frozen Burst. This is kind of like Flame Burst, but with water magic. Hexes foes near you. They move 66% slower for 8 seconds and deals 80 cold damage to foes near you. So this isn't bad. It's a good, like, quick burst of hex on nearby. Costs a lot of energy, so only really an Ellie is going to be running this. I can't really see this being very strong. The only situation I could see you running it is if you ran it with Mirror of Ice, and we're running some kind of, like, Starburst-ish water build. So instead of it being like Starburst Fire, it'd be like Mirror of Ice and like Frozen Burst, and there's like a few other skills you could run with this that'd be okay, but I wouldn't recommend it. It wouldn't be that strong. You'd just be like slowing a bunch of things down, which might be good, but wouldn't really kill them, which is what you're trying to do in hard mode. Let's get the next skills added. Alright, so Glowing Ice. This just lets you maintain energy, B tier. Combos well with any hex. Need to be a primary LA with high investment energy storage to really take advantage of it. B tier energy management skill. Ice Prison. This one's weird because it lasts forever, but like in hard mode, things shouldn't be living this long anyways, so I would say this is like D tier. It hits a single foe. You're better off using Deep Freeze or Ice Spikes. Ice Spear. Little bit of damage, a single target, gain some health regen if overcast. D tier, not really useful at all. If it hit adjacent, that's a different story, but it is no flare. Ice Spikes, A tier, pretty cheap, low cooldown, hexes adjacent, does good damage on top of that, hex them for 6 seconds, they move slower. It's basically like baby Deep Freeze. It doesn't have the huge area, but it's much more manageable, takes less time to cast, and it's much cheaper. So Ice Spikes and Deep Freeze, definitely really strong. Icy Prism. So this is basically your only real way of dealing damage. Does 71 damage, deals 71 damage to other nearby foes if they have a water hex. So this is just kind of like filler nearby damage for water builds. Water isn't your go-to for damage, but it can kind of help deal damage while it's shutting things down and controlling them. Maelstrom, A tier. I would say it was S, but the overcast really makes it not very like wise to run on other professions. Definitely A tier at least, because 1, if you have high water magic, it does good damage, and 2, it can completely control enemy backline and shut them down just with the use of one single skill. This with Deep Freeze is brutal on enemy backline. It like destroys mobs. It's really good in Winds of Change. Interrupting 10 spell interrupts is fucking crazy, especially if you have like Arcane Conundrum. This is really good, so it's actually a strong skill. Rust, this is a decent skill. It does some damage. It also hexes foes, so this can act as a cover hex as well. So it can be a cover hex. It also doubles signet activation. Not too many enemies use signets. The few that do, I guess it just happens to be a bonus against them. Interrupts and disables signets if you are overcast. So you have to run overcast with it to interrupt signets, but it's a very strange skill. It's good for a cover hex though. So if you hit something with Ice Spikes and then throw rust on top of it. The enemy monks aren't going to be able to remove ice spikes because most enemy monks don't have like really deep hex removal. They just have like surface, like they can remove like a hex unless they have like divert hexes or something weird, but that's not very common. Shard Storm. Oh yeah, I didn't rate this, did I? I would say this is like I would say it's like B tier. It's not bad. Shard Storm. It just hits a single target. It's a projectile, so they can dodge it. Does some damage and causes them to move slower. It's okay. I would say it's like C tier because it can kind of snare a foe, but it doesn't hit. It's just not high impact enough to be really good. So C tier. Next ones. All right, so here's the final 7. All right, so Slippery Ground causes knockdown if target foe is blind or moving. Affects foes adjacent to your target. So this is actually decent if you have either some access to blind, like if you have, or if, like, let's say if you are running like Blinding Surge, this is good with that because you can blind like a group of adjacent foes and then also knock them down. You can also just knock down moving foes. So this is actually pretty good. It's a good utility skill with a low cooldown, or low utility skill. I said skill. So this is like a solid B tier. 10-second knockdown or 10-second cooldown for knocking down adjacent. Pretty good for 5 energy, not bad. Steam, here we go. Deals some damage, inflicts blindness if target foe is burning. This would be really good if it hit adjacent, but it doesn't. So this I would say is like, I would say this is C tier. The reason for that is you need to have burn present, and it only inflicts blind if they're burning. There's a much better skill. So if I go over to my Earth dude, I'm going to be doing Earth soon. There's a certain skill that's much better at like controlling foes. Ash Blast. Burning foes are hexed for 5 seconds and have a 71% chance to miss, and it strikes adjacent. So a hex spell that causes them to miss 71% of the time. That's much better. Ash Blast is just way better than Steam. So Steam is just like C tier. Swirling Aura. This falls in line with like the support type of builds that you would run with a Mist Form build or a Ward Against Harm type of build that's like looking to help your team out. So this gives 6 health regeneration and a 50% chance to block projectiles. And if you're overcast, it also enchants party members in earshot. So this could, it heals all of your allies 12 health a second and mitigates enemy rangers and paragons and any like ranged attacks, excluding like spells. So this is actually quite strong. It's decent. I would say it's like B tier. It's not bad. Tanai's Prison. Target foe moves slower. Foes with cracked armor have 9 health degen. So if this hit adjacent, I would say B tier, but I would say this is D tier. It's a single target. Meeting the cracked armor condition is like a big ask for this. I would say this is like C tier even if it just gave them 9 degen without that, because that's just 18 damage a second for 6 seconds. That's not that big of a deal. So D tier. Vapor Blade, D tier. Single target damage, half if they're enchanted. Like, a lot of enemies are going to be enchanted, so it just sucks. And it takes forever to cast, so it's just not very strong. Water Attunement, B tier. Utility, just like with the Fire Attunement one. Against Enchant Hate, it's useless. Helps you maintain energy, so B tier utility skill. Winter's Embrace. Target foe moves 66% slower for 6 seconds. Takes some damage while moving. It's armor ignoring damage. Big upside there, but unfortunately it's just single target. If this hit adjacent, this would be like A tier, but it doesn't, so I would say this is like D tier. I wouldn't even run this. But yeah, there's my water magic tier list. Some skills, definitely more of like disparity between the useful and the useless in water magic than in fire magic. A lot of like some skills are just so bad they just need like significant buffs, like Armor of Frost, Frigid Armor. Conjure Frost isn't nearly as good because like what else would you make use of with Conjure Frost? Like, I guess you could say you could run like Spinal Shivers, but that's just so like just run Dom Mesmers Spinal Shivers is just such like a weird build, and like the dude's losing energy on interrupt, and it's just a huge pain in the ass. So yeah, there's like some like here's some skills that kind of stand out to me that just aren't very good. Like almost anything that just hits single target just kind of sucks. Like here's some examples of like really low ranking skills, but yeah, that's my water magic tier list. If you disagree or agree, let me know. If you have a build for any of these skills that's actually really good, definitely ping it or like explain what it is and how it works. I could see Mirror of Ice being good, but it would require a lot. Like maybe a Mirror of Ice fire build where you run like 12 plus 1 water, 12 plus 1 fire, and then like 3 plus 1 energy storage. And you run fire magic with Mirror of Ice, and the point of Mirror of Ice is to snare things. And you could also run Frozen Burst, but it'd be very energy like intense, and you're probably just better off running Starburst. But so yeah, that's my water magic skill tier list. So thanks for checking this out, and I'll see you in the next one.